Okay, so hi Jen. Hey guys. So wait, Matt, how do I get you on here? I tried click. Oh wait, is this the other one? Oh, approve. Here we go. We got Matt coming in. Hey Morgan.
Yeah, like yeah.
Yo. You
Okay,
are
good,
right
good.
side up. Don't worry.
I'm good. I'm
Yeah,
up. I'm
you're
up and
good. You're
down.
good.
Okay, sweet.
Hi Katie. Cool.
Okay, cool, cool. What's
Hey
up, y'all?
everybody. So today we're going to be talking about three reasons, but more than that really, but three main reasons that all women should be lifting weights, and the real reasons that you've been told not to at this point, because we've all heard that from the media,
Yeah,
from other people, stuff like that. And yeah, I guess wait another minute or two until we get into it. Let people join up. What do you think?
yeah, no, yeah, definitely, definitely. So most
Yeah,
people, so whoever's on right now, make sure you stay on so you don't miss out on
yeah,
what
yeah,
is
yeah.
on the
Hey Sarah,
stuff.
and tell your
What's up,
friends.
Jay?
Yeah, cool.
There you go, there you go. But no, it's good. So how's New York right now? Is it cool? Is it warm, hot, or what?
It's actually pretty cool today. It was kind of sad this morning. It was like cloudy. It's really sunny now and actually it's nice, but it's kind of chilly. So I'm like it's like nice outside and I want to like go outside, but like my feet are perpetually cold. So that's kind of where I'm
Yeah,
at right now.
yeah.
I'm
You're
like
looking
yeah, I'm
like you're
like
wearing like
bundled
a
up, but it's like pretty nice out though. Like it looks like sunny and stuff, which is good. So, hey
right, right.
Stephanie. Yeah.
Yeah. Over here in Houston, it's humid. It's always just humid all
Really?
the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
still. It's been we had a really bad humid summer, but it finally went away a little bit, I think. Now it's just getting kind of chilly, which is appropriate since it's like almost October, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. It should be start getting colder over here too, but Houston just likes to stay hot all the time, like year round basically.
Yeah.
So, but it's good though. It's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I enjoy it. Okay. So,
Yeah.
okay, I think we can
You
begin.
get into it?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm
Okay,
ready.
cool. So I'll introduce the first reason that all women should be lifting weights and what you've been told about it that is not true. And then I guess I'll open it up for you to like add anything to that, and then we'll kind of go back and forth until, until we figure that we're done
Yeah,
discussing that. So
love it.
so first
Love
of
it.
all,
Love
we're
it.
gonna go over, most people, most women especially, they have this
Yes.
misconception that like doing cardio is their main thing, or they have this misconception that lifting weights is going to make them bulky, but at the same time as they have these misconceptions, they have goals for their bodies, and they have women that they follow on Instagram, and they have people that they look up to, and for some reason it's like they're pounding their legs into the treadmill every day, but then they're liking people's photos on Insta, and those fitness models that you see are not doing excessive cardio. They're not restricting their calories, they're not restricting their carbs unless they're like leaning out. They are lifting weights. So the fitness models you look up to, and also known as those people that have the body that you want, they're not going for a jog. They're not doing an hour of steady state cardio. They are lifting weights. They're lifting heavy weights. And I always explain to my ladies when I have them, this is just an example for me. Women who want to build booties, like when I first have them do hip thrusters, they're like, oh, this is great. I can use a little 10-pound dumbbell. Or they're like, wow, like a 30-pound barbell, that's so much. And I'm like, honey, you were born with strong hips, you were born to have babies. Like it is
Yeah.
out of your squats, your deadlifts, and your hip thrusters, biomechanically your hip thrusters should be your heaviest lift. So if you're squatting upwards of 100 pounds, you should be hip thrusting 200. Like
Mm.
people think that that's crazy and they think it sounds insane, but it's not uncommon for a woman to be hip thrusting like 400 pounds, and that does not make her look manly at all. It makes her look like she has a
No.
booty. So
Yes.
yeah, why don't you add in what you think about how the way to get women in the body that they actually desire is lifting weights. It's a misconception. What do you have to say about that?
So just like you said, right? It's it's really women they really want to look more toned, right? They want to
Hmm.
look. I get a lot of women saying, "Hey, I want to look more defined. I want to have definition of my legs. I want to get rid of this cellulite I have here." But then once I get down to explaining what we're gonna do, they're like sometimes they get kind of scared. 80% of the time they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I have to lift weights. I don't want to get bulky."
Right.
And it's just not gonna happen. You're not doing excessive. A lot of women can outdo a lot of men, and even at that point, women will still not get as huge and as big as men do. And there's a whole lot of different other sides of that, and we'll
Yeah.
get into that more. But But yeah, with they want to take away carbohydrates and they want to do this and that, and like you said, they want to do cardio and cardio and cardio because they're thinking about shrinking, and that's
Hmm.
the main focus. If I
Hmm.
shrink, I'll get defined, and it's like no, 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 no. You're gonna lose. You're gonna lose. First
Right.
of all, you're taking away your carbs, and then you want to do a lot of excessive cardio, so you're taking away calories. So all you're gonna do is just get super thin, and you're gonna get
Right.
really weak, and you're not gonna get defined. I always tell women, girl, lift weights. Lift
Girl, lift
weights.
weights. Yeah.
Yeah, the more we lift weights, the more defined and the more we fix, our nutrition as well. Keep carbs, keep carbs, keep carbs.
Right.
But once we start to, make it more healthy, better food habits, and you incorporate it with lifts, good strong lifts, just like you were saying with the thrusters and stuff. You incorporate one and one together, you're going to shred fat and make
Hmm.
the muscle
Hmm.
superficial to the skin, and then
Hmm.
when you do
Right.
that, other light goes away. Right? All that
Yeah.
stuff goes away. Now you're defined. Now you got a nice lower half, and you just look and you feel amazing. So
Yeah.
yeah, lift weight all day, every day.
Yeah, yeah. And what I tell women all the time is I think one of the biggest misconceptions that they have is that building muscle, the word building is to suggest that it means you're getting bigger, that you're getting bulky. And for men, that is often the case because they have
Yeah.
more testosterone. And for the most part, many of them are eating in a caloric surplus, right? Which means that their goal is to gain muscle. Now, as a
Mm-hmm.
woman, if your goal is to gain muscle, so long as you haven't injected yourself with more testosterone, or if you're still eating in a calorie deficit, or if you're eating only at maintenance level, if you're not bulking, you're not
Right.
actually going to build muscle in terms of becoming larger. What you're going to do is you're going to make the muscle that you have stronger and denser. And what that means is that it actually makes you smaller. You appear smaller, but you are denser, right? When you have more muscle, because the muscle that you have, it takes more, and I talked about this in one of my other live videos. The muscle that you have, like, it takes more calories to maintain muscle than it does fat. So if you build muscle,
Yes.
you're going to become denser and then burn the fat on top of it. And that is what
Yeah.
you were saying about making the muscle superficial to the skin. And I think that something that is something that I realize that's really interesting too is that some of the strongest female powerlifters I've ever seen are also the tiniest human beings I've ever seen, right? It absolutely does
Yes.
not, you do not have to be large to be strong. If your muscles are very dense and very efficient, you appear smaller, but you're just solid as hell. So that's like a
Yeah. No,
huge
exactly.
misconception. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then one thing you said about how you said muscles burn more calories, right? And yes,
Hmm.
that's absolutely 1,000% true. And it's funny that you say that because as I train my clients, right, we're talking about lifting weights, we're talking about nutrition, and we start one day. Four weeks from that specific day, we're going through the program, and now we're stronger, right? We're stronger,
Hmm.
and it's always funny because they always question me when I suggest higher calorie
Yeah.
intake, right? I'm like, let's higher a little bit, and they're
Hmm.
like, well, I don't want to get fatter, I don't want to get
Hmm.
this and that. It's like, no, we're maintaining muscle and increasing, little by little.
Right.
And once you start to understand that, when you build lean muscle by intensity and stressing the muscle, by weightlifting,
Hmm.
squats, thrusters, then you're gonna build lean muscle mass, and not muscle mass as in like growth, because
Right.
as you know,
Right.
building muscle is slow and it's hard.
Yeah.
um, so you have to do the work, and once you start, it's just crazy that you say that, because when I tell people, ladies or females especially, to higher caloric intake, they're like, what? They get all scared, like, no, I don't want to do that, I don't want to backtrack. But it's
Hmm.
like, no, we're trying to grow and maintain what we have and progress still
Right.
towards where we want to be at.
Yeah. And I want to add to that too that I am definitely eating a lot more calories than I was about 5 years ago, and I'm also a lot leaner than I was about 5 years ago. Um,
Don't be
so
scared.
that's the ironic thing too. And I remember when I first started lifting weights, heavy weights. I do remember like when I first started, it was almost like a switch from a ton of cardio over to mostly lifting weights. And at the time, I was still doing cardio, but because of the weights, my metabolism started going so far through the roof that it was like I was like, I'm hungry all the time. I can't stop eating.
Yep.
And at first, I was afraid it was going to make me gain weight. But then I found that the more I ate and the more carbohydrates I allowed myself to eat, as long as I was still building that muscle, the leaner I felt, right? So if I ate, even if I ate really well during the week, and then I felt like I had like a super high carb meal or whatever, I would wake up the next morning and it was like this amazing feeling where food fed all of the parts of myself that I loved. Instead of me waking up and feeling like I was like a little fluffier, I woke up and like my abs were popping a little bit more because I was doing the work, I was putting the work in, and I needed the carbohydrates, and it was going straight to my muscle mass. So I definitely remember that feeling of just being like, I can't eat enough, like because my metabolism was shooting through the roof. And one of the issues that most people, most women especially, go along with is, especially with cardiovascular exercise and with restriction of calories, your body adapts continuously to that, which means that as you do that long term, your metabolism is gradually getting slower and slower and slower and slower and slower. So I've met women who they can't eat more than 1,000 or 1,200 calories a day without gaining weight. And if you get yourself to that point, that's really dangerous because it's going to keep getting lower to the point where you can't stop eating, right? You can't stop eating. And if you do keep eating at, a normal amount, then you will gain weight because your metabolism is literally effed up. So
Yeah,
at that point, what you have to do is reverse diet, which is what you were talking about, is very gradually, slowly adding the calories back in. And the way to optimize that is to build muscle at the same time. So that
exactly.
maybe, and that's not what most women want to hear. If they have completely messed up their metabolism, most women don't want to hear, oh, you have to spend the next 6 to 10 months gaining weight and eating in a caloric surplus. Most women don't want to hear that they have to do a reverse diet. But sometimes for your long-term health, that is actually really necessary. And if you have a
Yes.
coach like Matt or I to help you through that, like really with the psychological part of it, but also with like the nitty gritty part of it, you'll find that it's actually not that scary because the whole idea of a reverse diet is to increase your calories slowly enough to optimize your metabolism, but to minimize weight gain. So
Yeah,
you likely will gain less than 5 to 10 pounds, but you will be restoring your metabolism and building muscle in the process. So that is
exactly.
another thing that I wanted to add that I think is important is, lifting weights optimizes your metabolism. And who doesn't want that,
Yes,
right? Who doesn't want that? Because then when you get to 50 years old, you already have done the work to keep yourself looking
yep,
great as you age. If you've done it
exactly.
early, you don't have to start late. So that's amazing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then also too, whenever we're building with women especially, okay, and it's always I rarely get it with men because obviously men they love to look bigger, right? We like to get bigger
Right.
and bigger. But a lot of females are always saying like, I want to lose 30 pounds, right? I want to lose 35 pounds, 40 pounds, and that's fine. Okay, we can lose weight. That's fine. We'll get there. Especially if our body fat, percentage is high in the high 20s or almost 30s, as in percent. Then definitely we need to drop it down. But the biggest thing for me is the scale. I hate when people get on the scale and more
Mm-mm.
focused on dropping weight. Let's what we need to do here is you're going to go through
Right.
weight training. You're going to lift weights. We're going to grow muscle. Okay, and I'm talking like muscle, the actual tissue. Okay, the actual muscle attached to our bones, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the muscle I'm talking about. So as we start to improve that, through hypertrophy, then as they grow, body fat, just like you said, naturally falls off.
Right.
So the best route to go, and I always do it, with most of my clients is, let's focus more on measurements. Let's
Mm-hmm.
focus more on appearance. Okay, you're definitely going to see when you're shrinking in body fat percentage and you're increasing in muscle mass because you're definitely going to tell by the goal that you want, right? You want to get toned, you want to get more defined. You're definitely going to see whenever you start incorporating a lot of weightlifting and we're starting to go through the increasing caloric intake, you're definitely going to tell and you're definitely going to see through all this, just like you said, in the next 4 to 6 months, you're definitely going to see, and it's crazy. And that's why we have people like us, that specialize in this because we know what happens with the body and the muscles. So it's always a long-term thing, just like you said,
Right.
long-term. It's not going to, muscle does not grow overnight or the next,
Right.
week. So it takes a little bit. For lean muscle, it takes a little bit. So if we want to get toned and defined, you're definitely going to have to incorporate weightlifting and definitely eat more. And we don't need to be scared about doing these things because in the long run, your goals will be realistic and you will
Right.
finally see in the mirror what we're talking about after you incorporate these things.
Yeah. Yeah, and in terms of the long-term issue, I think a lot of people they want a quick fix and they want to have results quicker and they're like, "Well, why would I try to weightlift in the long term if I can just lose weight doing cardio in the short term?" It's like, so okay, there's a couple different factors here. Like, yes, cardio will probably make you lose weight more quickly, but it's not the type of quality weight that you want to be losing, right? You're losing your shape with it. You're not maintaining the figure that you have. And number two, not only does weightlifting improve continuously long term and cardio is more short term, but cardio long term is actually detrimental. It's not
Yeah.
just that it's not beneficial long term, it's that it's actually detrimental long term, which means that if you are trying to maintain a schedule where you're running 60 minutes a day for whatever, maybe for your first couple months you feel on top of the world, you lose some weight, but you can't do that for 5, 10, 15 years, because if you try, one, you're going to get a lot of overuse injuries, and two, your body will start holding
Yeah.
on to fat because your metabolism is not optimized. So if you are running for performance, if you're a distance runner, then those people are making sure that they're eating a lot of carbs and they're eating a lot of fuel, and many of them are doing weight training to supplement their sport, right? And another thing I want to add that has to do with the weight on the scale is that I used to be very much tied to the weight on the scale. Towards the end of high school, I was doing a lot of ballet, and I remember like kind of defining myself in terms of that number. And I never had ever, like 5'6". So in high school, I had never been above like 110. Like that was the most I'd ever been. And I remember when I hit that, I was like, oh my God, I'm huge, like ridiculous.
Right. 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 Right.
And I just wanted to, for a little reference for like ladies here, when I went to college, I got down pretty quickly to about 90 pounds because I was running every day and I had an eating disorder. So I had that. And then basically I slowed my metabolism down to the point that I was cold all the time, and that's like a very extreme example of what could happen. But so when I had to
But
get
it's real. Real.
yeah, but it's real, right? And then so when I had to gain the weight back, I felt that I was gaining it in all the wrong places, and I didn't like the way it was distributing itself because I had to like let myself rest. And the only thing that changed that for me was weight training. And just for a little bit of reference, right? The lowest I'd ever been was like 90 pounds. The heaviest I've ever been was close to 140, and that was like this past winter during like my first, what you might call a bulk, which is where I just basically I lifted heavy and I ate as much banana bread as I wanted. Um,
Right.
and which was like every week I had a recipe
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved. No, but for real. And now I'm sitting around like 130 to 135. I look better than I've ever looked. I'm leaner than I've ever looked, right? I look the same size as I did in high school, just like more shapely in terms of muscle. I look the same size, but I'm like 30 pounds heavier than I ever was in high school. And I was even talking to someone this morning after taking a cycle class, and she's like, "What are you, like 110, 115?" And I was like, "No, no, no, no." Like I
No.
honestly I don't know because I haven't weighed myself in like a month because I just don't care, right? I just don't care. I have such an awareness that I've built of my body through weight training and through eating well that I don't need the scale to tell me because I already know what I'm feeling. And that's the kind of awareness you want to build with your body. Like you want to have an intimate relationship with your body and you want to know how you're feeling. If you have to depend on the scale to tell you if you should feel okay about yourself, then that's totally messed up. Like
Yeah.
there's so many things, it's like your gravitational pull on the planet. It just feels so arbitrary. And I still see women in their 50s and 60s in the gym every day going over and weighing themselves. And I'm like, has your life not been so exhausting having this be a preoccupation for yourself every single day for the last 30 years? I got so tired of it in 3 years. I can't imagine being a 55-year-old woman and still defining myself in terms of my weight. It's a
Exactly.
generational thing, and I don't want that for this generation. I will never understand how
Yeah.
how you don't get so tired of it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. And it's like for me, it's whenever something you're doing something that makes you depressed, why do we constantly do it, right? Why do we
Right.
constantly try to get on the scale whenever the numbers aren't the same, you know? And especially whenever they're, we do have clients and they want to lose weight, and they want to get defined, right? They want to lose weight, they want to tone up, okay? It's kind of like opposites, right? If you think about it. But whenever the client weighs themselves and they're like, hey, I haven't lost any weight, and it's like, well, yeah, because look what's happening, right? Your clothes are getting bigger, right?
Right.
Why? Because we're
Right.
losing inches as in body fat,
Mm-hmm.
and on top of that, we're building more muscle. So if you look at the scale and you're gaining weight, that's a good thing, depending on your appearance and all, because we're putting on muscle.
Right.
Muscle weighs more
Right.
than fat anyway. And talking about people who run, right, like marathon runners, people who are just constantly doing cardio, okay? I have a lot of friends now who are in their 50s and 60s, and all they do is run marathons, right?
Hmm.
And don't get me wrong, it's good. It's a type of exercise. You're doing something, right? But if you want to have like that long term, right? You want to make sure your body is healthy and strong, okay? Strong throughout the way we age. Okay, weightlifting, building lean muscle. You're not only building the muscle and densifying the muscle, but you're doing the same with your bones. Okay, you're
Right.
densing them,
Yes.
making the bones just as strong. So what does that mean? As we age, okay, as we age, and things happen, as in like we fall or something, or we lose balance or whatever, because we're not working on these things, you're more prone, right, to breaking bones, because as we age, we stay away from weightlifting, we stay away from doing these things and improving muscle mass. And when we do that, then injury comes.
Right.
You start having hunchback, or you start to have torn rotator cuffs, or simple fractures in your bones, all because we're not incorporating these things.
Yeah.
So weightlifting doesn't just build muscle, but you're strengthening your bones and your joints, and
Right.
you're definitely doing mind to muscle. Mind
Right.
to muscle is always happening when we're doing weightlifting as well. So
Yeah. And
it's highly
yeah. Sorry. What?
it's highly beneficial.
Yeah.
Weightlifting is more than what it looks like.
Right. And it's certainly more than just physical goals as well. And that brings us into another one of our other points that we were going to go over, which is it's important to use your muscles in more than just a cardiovascular way, especially as you age, like especially as you age. So basically what we were saying is as you age, especially women, when you approach menopause or when you go through menopause, you start to lose muscle mass and you start to lose strength. And as we talked about, less muscle mass equals a slower metabolism. So basically, when I get a 56-year-old woman come in and train with me and she says, I don't know why I never had any belly fat until this age, but all of a sudden I can't get it to go away, it's because she is naturally losing muscle mass, which means that her metabolism is slowing down. So if she is still eating the same as she always has, she's going to gain weight because her metabolism is literally slower. So weight training is not just about maintaining strength and physique, because by the time you're 50 or 60 years old, most people don't have crazy physique goals. They're just living their lives and they want to get rid of the pooch and they want to feel good. And
Yep.
weight training for women in that regard is going to speed their metabolism up and make sure that they maintain their strength. And for women like who have osteopenia, osteoporosis, they need to be doing weight bearing
Yep.
exercise to keep
Yep.
their bone density. And as a personal note, right, when I had my eating disorder, I had a bone density scan when I was 19 years old, and the doctor thought that I had osteoporosis already. And I swear, like, my mom already has osteopenia. I was freaking out. I was really upset because I thought I ruined the rest of my life. Like, you build most of your muscle mass before you're 25. So if you compromise your body during that time, you don't get it back.
Nope.
Long story short, I was fine. I was on the line, but I have within the last few years been able to increase my bone density back to where it should be through weight training. I stopped running. I stopped doing cardio for almost like a whole year, and I just did weight training, and that was because I had muscle goals, yeah, but it was also
Uh-huh.
because I had goals for my body in my future to not be falling apart. Like, I wanted to have healthy bones, and that was something that was a non-physical goal for me. So not only that, but as you know, I think that women that are in their 50s and 60s now, their generation has done them a disservice by not encouraging them to weight train when they were my age, because people in my mom's generation, they're like, oh, girls lift now, like that wasn't a thing. And all of them have bad joints, all of them have low bone density, they have osteopenia, osteoporosis is really 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 common. They all complain about their belly fat and blah 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 blah. And now that more and more women in their 20s, 30s, 40s are lifting weights, I have very high hopes that my generation, when we approach that pre and postmenopausal age, will not be the same, right?
Yeah.
Osteoporosis rates will go down. We won't be holding on to as much fat. Our metabolisms will be remaining pretty high because we've built that foundation before. So it's really important. 50 and 60-year-old women are the most common to say that they're too old to lift weights, and they are also the most likely to benefit from it at this point. They are the people who need it the most. And if they did it when they were younger, it wouldn't be so dire. So that's another reason that young women should start now, and older women should not hesitate to do it as well. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Beautiful, because my boot camp, right? I run a boot camp in the mornings, and majority of my boot campers, they're over the age of 40, and some of them even over the age of 50.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm going through the training, right, as we're getting our workout in for the boot camp, you know, in the very beginning, they would always question me, you know, like, oh, this is too heavy. I don't want to do this. Well, then I'm like, okay, oh, are we hurt here? Are we, you know,
Right.
are you feeling weird, or are you hurting yourself when you do the lift? No, it's just heavy. I don't
Hmm.
want to hurt myself. It's like, no, I'm watching you here. You have the correct form. Let's do the lifts. And as months went by, they feel amazing. They feel
Right.
amazing. They have more energy. They're able to do more. They're able to walk for a longer period of time. They're able to be more awake at a
Hmm.
longer period of time. And they even notice, just like you said, because they're putting on lean muscle. Like these
Hmm.
women, 50 years old, they look outstanding.
Right.
And when they go out, I tell them, yo, when you guys go out, do not be afraid to eat. I want you to enjoy your
Hmm.
food. You're working out so hard here. You deserve to eat what you want to eat, okay? But just make sure whenever we come back tomorrow morning, we're about to get it again.
Right.
But
Right. Right.
you know, just don't be scared, right? We need to fuel your body. As your body goes through weight training, you need to fuel those things, okay? We
Hmm.
need to fuel it by what? Eating.
Right.
We need to eat. And I'm not saying eat a bunch of junk food, but you know, we have more leeway with what we eat when you do weight lift, because
Oh,
we're dealing with
absolutely.
muscle growth,
Yeah.
which is huge, big difference.
Yeah, well, and in terms of leeway too, and I don't say this to suggest that I can eat whatever I want, because I am very strict with my diet and my workout.
Me
Like,
too.
I am super strict 6 days of the week with my workouts and my diet. So I don't need anyone telling me like, oh, you're lucky genetically. Like, no, I'm not lucky genetically. I figured this
Yeah,
out and I learned how to do it. Everyone can be lucky genetically. It's just you just got to educate yourself. That's the main thing. Educate yourself.
definitely.
So yeah, I never 2, 3 years ago, even then when I was starting to build this, but 5 years ago, whatever, I never would have been able to eat an entire pizza on Friday night and not feel like I had any repercussions from that. I mean,
Yeah.
we all know that doing that once isn't going to harm you, but
No.
I can do it weekly now, and it not only can I do it and can I go all out because I lift weights and my body like just completely metabolism just blows through all of it because of the muscle mass that I have, but I enjoy it. Like I enjoy doing it. It feels good. Because I've worked hard all week, and that's you got to give yourself those breaks sometimes. But not being afraid to eat is one of the biggest things. And I want to go over a little observation that I made actually. I was at brunch a couple weeks ago with my boyfriend and his mom and like his
Huh?
some of his family. We were at like a brunch
Right.
buffet, and I was making these observations. It was crazy. So it was like it felt like they had bacon and pancakes and mini Belgian waffles that I had like 6 of. They're so good. But it was like a room full of men with full plates eating all of this like crap and whatever. And all their wives were sitting next to them with like plates of melon, like cutting them with a fork and knife and eating them slowly. And I was like walking by with this plate of bacon, like what is going on? Don't these people know that if you just work hard 90% of the time, you don't have to care so much? Like when you go to a brunch buffet, that's a special thing. You don't do that every day. So that should be the day that you get to do whatever you want, as long as you're not eating Lucky Charms during the week. So
Yeah.
the observation that I made though was the interesting thing was that the other women, which there were few of, at the buffet who were eating like I was, who were eating like the honestly like the men were, they were all very healthy weights. They looked great. And the women who were slowly cutting their melon and not eating anything were all overweight, every single one. And I'm telling you right now, it's because they
It's
don't
crazy.
it's because they restrict their calories. They probably focus exclusively on cardio, right?
Yep.
They've done it long term, thus they have slowed their metabolisms down, and they wonder, I'm trying so damn hard, but for 15 years I just couldn't lose weight. And it's because they're not educating themselves on the way that their bodies actually work. And that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to tell you that not only can you enjoy food in your life, because that is such an important part of life, but you should, because you need it. If you are doing the right type of workouts, it's going to benefit you. So, it's one of those things, one of those observations that I've made.
I absolutely agree. So with cardio, okay, you know how we've been talking about cardio. People like to do cardio. Cardio is extremely beneficial on teaching and training your body how to utilize oxygen as energy, right? And how we use fat as fuel. So whenever we're doing cardiovascular training, okay, it's cardiovascular training. Your heart is pumping. But if you ever notice, whenever you are running, okay, you're running, especially marathon runners, or even just people who want to get on the treadmill or whatever, you can get to a point to where you're comfortable. You
Mm-hmm.
get to a point to where your heart is pumping at a normal rate, right? We're not too high, okay? And you can hold that for an hour, hour and a half, right? If you were to go onto a squat rack and you were to put on almost a 1 rep max, or maybe a weight that you can do for 3 reps, okay, you're gonna do that weight for 3 reps, and that's it. Okay, that's as much as you're gonna push the muscle to do. And as we do that, as we continuously do that, the next couple of days that pass by, you go on the squat rack again, that weight's gonna be a little bit lighter. And then we keep progressing, we keep progressing, and then you start seeing improvements, and you start seeing improvements. And once that happens, then you start to, you'll feel great. I always tell
Right.
women, hey, if you are against it, try it for 7 days, try it for 2 weeks maybe, and you will just see the difference. You will naturally become a little bit more hungry. You'll naturally
Right.
become hungry. You'll notice that you're a little warmer now. You'll notice, different things, more energized, right? And you're gonna feel sore. Okay, and that's what people love sometimes, to feel sore. And as we progress down this path, weightlifting is just the best. It's literally the best option to do if you're trying to get into the best shape of your life. And don't get me wrong, cardiovascular training is great, and still do it. And there's many ways you can test cardiovascular. They're like high intensive interval training, right? You can do that thing as well, and I can put you through a 20-minute workout, and you can burn probably more calories than you did on the treadmill, and you've been on there for 2 hours. And with that, your metabolism stays raised for a long period of time. So cardiovascular training, running on the treadmill, doing cardio, running outside, if you want to look better, you want to feel amazing, you want to feel confident, you want to look beautiful, then do that. And do that by lifting weights. Don't be
Right.
scared. Don't be scared.
Don't be scared.
Scared.
Yeah, no,
All
and
right.
what was relating to that, not only does weightlifting continuously like optimize your metabolism, continuously build muscle, while um cardiovascular exercise long term is continuously basically lowering your metabolism. They're working at odds with one another. Not only that, but in terms of progression, right? We all know that you have to progress your workouts to keep pushing forward. So, in other words, if you're running on the treadmill for 60 minutes, unless you add 5 minutes a week, you're not progressing at all. You're not going anywhere, especially because if your metabolism is getting lower, you need to be running more every single day just to make up for that, to maintain your weight. So, I mean, we can't keep doing that forever until you're running for 3 hours a day,
Awesome.
because nobody has the time to do that. So the other thing about weightlifting is that it's just more efficient, because rather than increasing time, you increase intensity, and by increasing intensity is increasing weight. So you're still doing a 3 rep max no matter what weight you're using, but it's physically a lot more taxing as you raise the weight. But it's always going to take the same number of seconds or the same number of minutes, right? So while cardio is kind of like, oh, it's more and more and more and more and more of a waste of my time, weights is just like, as long as I plan ahead and I record what weights I've been using, I can take the weight up. It takes me the same amount of time, and I'm continuously progressing without spending so damn long doing it. So
Yeah.
that is important. And I want to address too something that I didn't address directly yet, which is toning. Woo. So I just want to talk about how many times, and I can't believe, honestly, in 2018, with all of the information that we have out there now, that there's still women who come to me and they say, I just want to tone. Like, I mean, I know it's not everyone's interest to research and educate themselves on this specific topic, but it's just the industry does you such a disservice by telling you that toning is real. So in the fitness industry, toning is a joke. It doesn't exist, right? You either build muscle and burn fat, or you don't. There's no toning. Toning equals building muscle or burning fat, which usually, if they're most effective, happen in tandem with one another. So for example, another thing I wanted to address is a lot of women who start weight training, initially their weight on the scale might go up and they freak out because they're like, why am I gaining weight? It's because there's a little bit of a lag, right? When you have more muscle, you burn more calories at rest because your metabolism is higher, which means that when you have more muscle, you're going to burn off the fat on top of the muscle as long as you keep your calories the same. But there's a little window of time, right? You build the muscle first, you gain the weight, right? And then it takes a little bit of time for that new muscle to burn the fat. So I tell women, like, that's why you have to be patient long term, because if you see the scale go up after you start weight training, that means you're about to lose fat, right? That's a
Yeah.
good thing. And that is what toning is. Toning is building muscle and then burning fat. There's 2 steps to the process, but you have to follow through. Toning doesn't just happen. It's not one thing. You build muscle,
Right.
you burn fat. They happen at the same time. So, that's it's just difficult when women say, oh, I don't want to get bulky, I just want to tone. And I'm like, either way, you're going to be building muscle. So let's just agree on that, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the way you say it, because nowadays, right? I can even go down the street right now and knock on doors and talk to the wives, or a female that's in the house right now, and ask like, hey, if I were to tell you, hey, let's go get toned, okay?
Yeah.
Like let's tone your body. What do you think the training is gonna look like? What would you think it's gonna be like? And most of them are gonna say, oh, well, I think we're just gonna do a lot of cardio, right? We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start to shrink our body.
You know, they get their
And it's like,
little 3 pound weights.
yeah, like no, toning, building muscle. Just like you said, you're either building muscle or you're not. Okay,
Right.
and that's basically that's how you should look at it as.
Right.
So if you want to, look like you said, look toned. Okay, and let's not look toned. Okay, we're gonna look great. Let's look great, and let's do that by building muscle.
Yeah.
And as you begin to change your aspect on how you think of toning is, right? If your goal right now is to lose weight and tone, it's
Mm-hmm.
let's build muscle. Let's get stronger. Let's feel confident, right? Let's look beautiful. Let's look amazing
Right.
in my clothes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the biggest part is toning nowadays. Even when I very first started, it's more of shrinking, and people think
Right.
shrinking as in let's do cardio, let's barely eat food, let's get into a calorie deficit, and let's take away carbs. And nowadays, let's go keto, and then
Uh,
and then
but
and then let's
as we talked about, if shrinking is what you're looking for, same thing. Weightlifting is still the best thing. Weightlifting is still the best thing. It
yeah,
might, cardio, you might notice that you're shrinking faster in a week or two. You're like, wow. But weightlifting, you're going to maintain that. That's why those people who go and they do cardio for a period of time, and then they either burn themselves out or they gain all the weight back, or they plateau and start gaining more weight. That's because your metabolism is slowing down. If you start weightlifting, you are continuously getting better. I've been doing this now for like 5 years and I feel pretty damn good with where I am, but I know that when I'm 30, I'm 23. When I'm 30, I'm going to look better than I do right now. I know that for a fact because it takes time and that's just the way it is. But wouldn't it be great if you knew that you were going to look better 5, 10 years from now than you do now? Instead of always feeling like it's a short-term goal that you always have to commit to. It's like, oh, I looked so good a month ago and then I lost it. Like, it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be continuously working towards a goal. And the cardio is such a short-term concept that
right.
people feel like as soon as they lose their will or their motivation, it's gone. Whereas weightlifting, like even if you start 2, 3 times a week, your body's always building muscle. You have to start somewhere. So
Yeah.
you don't have to worry as much too about getting in there at 7 a.m. every single morning and getting your workout done. Like that's another thing is I don't like to take a ton of time off, but I'm a lot more able now to do it without suffering consequences than I was in the past. If you do exclusively cardio and you take a week off, you could gain all of that back in a week. I went on a
Yeah.
week-long vacation and my metabolism just burned through all the calories that I was eating. And when I came
Yeah.
back, it took me 2 days to get back to where I was. And I can't tell you I wasn't surprised. That was a big lesson for me. But that's the way it is. When you work long term on that muscle building, you have that luxury. You have the luxury of going on vacation and enjoying it without worrying so much because you have a body that is a lot more adaptable and a lot more able to deal with those changes and get back to where you
Yeah,
want to
exactly.
be. Yeah.
Beautiful, exactly. And as we age, right, everyone's trying to stay looking young, right? Everyone's
Hmm.
trying to stay looking young. And especially with females, we're always trying to stay looking young. Every female bodies go through so much, right? In pregnancy, your little monthly enemy, and all these things happen within a female body. And especially when we start to get older, people want to stay looking younger. And at a certain age, our body will like start to deteriorate, right? It'll start to kind of like eat itself away and not really rebuild.
Hmm.
But building and weightlifting, right? You're constantly rebuilding tissue. It's constant building tissue throughout however long you do this for. And
Hmm.
people, I've seen it. People are still weightlifting at 65 years old,
Yeah. Yeah.
78 years old. Yeah, and it's happening because why? There wasn't a point in time where they said, you know what, I'm going to do cardio for this long, or I'm not going to do this anymore, right? They constantly
Hmm.
put this in their lifestyle, and that's why they're still able to walk without a cane at 85 years old, because they're
Right.
constantly, yeah, they're constantly demanding to their bodies to be as healthy as they can possibly be, and you do that by weightlifting.
Yeah. And I ask
That's
women
how
all
I
the
was.
time, like, why is it really that you're doing cardio? Why is it really that you're not with weightlifting? And the answer isn't, oh, I want to be lean, or oh, I want to lose weight, or oh, I want to be smaller. The answer is, oh, it's because you've been told that you shouldn't. It's because like, I mean, we could go into a ton of like
Yeah.
psychological power struggle things about the
Yeah.
size of women, like having to shrink themselves. We could go into that, and I'm not here to go into that, though. As an anthropology major, I'd love to. But like, yeah, I feel like there's so many women who just, they kind of like, it's like you look around at the gym, you look around at the people around you, and you're like, okay, so this is what everyone else is doing, so this is like what I'm supposed to do, so like this is what I'll do. But
Mhm.
none of those people have results. I worked at a gym for a while, and I know for a fact that all of them were going there the last 10, 15 years, and they looked exactly the same as they always have. But for most women, it's not a lack of willpower, and it's not a lack of drive, and it's not a lack of the ability to get up early in the morning and go there and do it. A lot of them are really driven. A lot of them do have the willpower. A lot of them are running for 60 minutes a day on the treadmill, even though they dread it. And with willpower like that, why don't you, and it's like willpower directed in an unproductive direction. If you direct that willpower into a productive strategy, then that's amazing. And I tell people, this is how I like to explain it, is that lifestyle habits being exercise, diet, and your goals. Those three things need to be working in tandem with one another. So, for example, if you are weightlifting, but you're on the ketogenic diet and you're not eating carbs, you're not going to be able to build muscle because you're going to be burning your protein for energy instead of your carbs. That's an example
Right.
of your lifestyle habits not working in tandem with one another. So, you're not going to reach your goal. If you are looking to build muscle and get, quote, toned, if you're looking to get toned, but you're running on the treadmill and that's all you're doing, again, your lifestyle habits are not working in tandem with one another, because you want to look toned, which equals building muscle, but you are on the treadmill wasting it away. So what it really is an awareness of those three things: your diet, your exercise, and your goals. They all need to be working together, and that's what something that a coach can help you figure out, because many of us just don't have, we're just not educated on how to do that. So we go in there and we assume that more is better, burning more calories, eating less. Like, we always assume that it's better. It's like we want there to be a little window of extra burned calories just in case we so happen to eat that extra chip or something. But at the end of the day, like, that isn't really what changes things. So it's
No.
just so frustrating to watch women go through it over and over and over and over again. And they ask me, what do you do for cardio? What do you do for this? What do you do for that? And I do like to do cardio, but I'm like, honestly, like, I just sprinted for 20 minutes this morning, but you got to actually sprint. Like, you can't, you can't just like jog, or,
Yeah.
what do you do for whatever? And then, well, for the last week, honestly, I haven't done cardio at all. I'm like, what? Like, there's just so many misconceptions. So
But
yeah.
no, definitely. So okay, so let's say real quick. So let's say someone wants to become toned, right? So let's
Hmm.
say someone wants to get defined. Someone wants
Right.
to look nicely fit. What's something that you would suggest them to do right now, starting today?
Starting today. So it depends on, well, like I always say, it depends on their foundation. So it depends on what they've been doing, right? If they haven't been doing anything at all, I would say wake up in the morning 15 minutes earlier. And this is always what I say, because people like to tell me that they don't have time, and that's total bullshit.
Yeah.
Uh, like,
Sure.
if
Sure.
if you are totally sedentary and your diet kind of sucks, I would say, the first thing I do is, honestly, get up 15 minutes earlier than you normally do and do 5 sets of 10 burpees, right? And then make sure each meal that you have during the day is a balanced meal of your macronutrients, and eat until you're full. If you are sedentary, you will see a change in your body in a week, because you're not
Great.
going for an hour long. I'm not telling you to wake up and go for an hour long jog. Most people, they say like, oh, I don't have time to start today because I don't have time to like spend an hour in the gym. And I'm like, you don't need time to spend an hour in a gym. Like, the reason you haven't started for the last 3 years is because you keep telling yourself you don't have an hour to put aside. Give me 15 minutes, right? Start somewhere. You can increase that later. You can figure it out later, but don't use it as an excuse to not start something. You know, like I tell people all the time, if you've been doing 10 jumping jacks every day for the last 15 years, do 11. Like, I don't care. You have the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Figure something out. If you want this,
Right.
you will figure something out. And part of doing that is educating yourself enough to know how to get there. And most of
Yeah.
us have the willpower to do something, but we don't have the willpower to examine our strategy.
Beautiful. I'm huge. I'm so huge on
Mm.
changing environment, and intensifying intensity itself. Just like you said, progressive, right? We don't progress if we don't progress. So, but yeah, that's a good one. Especially when they're sedentary. Especially when there's someone like that. And it could be the same with someone that does cardio all the time.
Right.
Someone that's really into running on a treadmill or
Mm-hmm.
running miles and
Mm-hmm.
miles. Same thing. We can do literally 2 or 3 minutes of burpees straight, and they're
Mm-hmm.
going to be exhausted. And
Mm-hmm.
why? Because we don't have the muscle to withstand
Yep.
the strength and the endurance that we need to do for the burpees here.
Yep.
So there's all sorts of, you know, just like you said, just like you said, that's a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful way to start for anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, and I actually plan on making a video this week on the 5 most efficient ways to cardio exercises to burn fat quickly, and they're all under 20 minutes. None of them include running for an hour at all. And they most of them are it's less like it's less of like a oh I'm going crazy and I'm moving my body as fast as I can and da, da, da. It's more like slow and controlled, but you're taxing your body because you're moving it. Like for example, like sled pushes. For a lot of people, that is kind of a slow movement because it's so heavy that you can't sprint with it per se unless it's like a lighter weight. But sled pushes are one of the best ways to shed fat quickly because all of your muscles are being so physically taxed at one time, and I mean in terms of weight, like pushing weight. Um, that you don't realize you're out of breath until you get to the other side, and then it's like you're hit in the
Yeah,
shit. But that is
exactly.
that's the same thing as sprinting. It's just less impact if you have like shin splints or whatever. Like you don't need to be running. I feel is running is like the king of all. Everyone thinks running is like the answer to their everything, and I used to run every day, 7 days a week, and I only got injured. I run now maybe once a week. You know, it's just there's so many other things you can do. And I think, yeah, you were saying for the foundation of someone who has been doing excessive cardio, if they said I want to get toned, I want to look fit, what would I recommend? I would recommend if they're running 10 miles a day, I would say jog 1 mile as your warm up. Give me 10 or sorry, 5 sets of 10 squats, heavy squats. Give me like whatever, like 4 exercises, compound weight exercises, and do that instead. And then you would see those changes pretty quick. Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
100% agree, girl. No, it's crazy on how certain things like that. The more muscle activity that is being used and being turned on throughout a
Right.
lift, the more calories we burn, and it takes a while to get to 100 calories on a treadmill, and you can
Right.
get there with a simple couple squats or a
Right.
deadlift. A
Right.
deadlift, you can quick, but
Yeah. Deadlifts you could do really quick. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so and you can find out once you go through experiments and you experiment on yourself and you go and try these things. Have fun in the gym. Don't think of the gym as like, oh, I gotta lose 5 pounds by next week.
Right.
No, let's think about it a different way. Have
Right.
fun in there. Do something different, okay? And you're
Yeah.
definitely gonna see a different type of result, especially when you're weightlifting. Especially when you're weightlifting.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think yeah, focusing not on the scale and starting to commit to the heavy weight training is like I can tell you, I still remember when I started really doing that. I was actually when I first started like really weight training heavy was in my junior year of college. Before then I was doing mostly cardio and ballet. So I had a fair bit of muscle mass from ballet, but the heavier lifting I started doing my junior year, and in the fall I started it, but then I really got really into it when I was abroad in Spain. So I was studying abroad in Spain, and I was like friends with all the trainers, and it's funny because like I know everything in Spanish before I knew it in English. I was like I
Right.
took all my first like spin classes in Spanish, but so like I just remember like getting back home to my host mom and just being like feeling like I was becoming less afraid to eat things because when I went abroad it was such an issue with carbs, and she's going to be giving me food and like what if I don't want to eat it, and I still definitely had unhealthy preoccupations at that point, but I just remember being able to move through so much food and not feel bad about it. It was like I filled out my pants in all the right places, but
Yeah.
I didn't have to suck in my stomach. Like it was the most
Right.
amazing feeling because my weight
Right.
was steadily climbing. Like I was gaining weight, but my body distribution was just totally different. And I can't tell you as a woman what that feels like, especially if you have been uncomfortable in your skin for however long. It's like so amazing. So yeah.
No, I agree. I agree. So, how important would you say weightlifting is?
100% of the importance goes to weightlifting. And I think one more thing for those women out there who are like, but it will make me bulky, blah 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 blah. Like scientifically speaking, you have less testosterone in your body unless you are injecting testosterone or steroids. and eating in a major caloric surplus, you cannot lift heavy enough to make you huge. And I see actually that Lyra just joined, and it's funny because I was going to make a comment about CrossFit. So Lyra, she works at a CrossFit gym that I went to in college for a little bit, and I just want to say she is one of the most feminine, like small but beastly strong women I've ever seen in my life. Like she is
Right.
so strong and so muscular, but she looks so feminine and she's so tiny. Like you do not become the Hulk when you lift weights. And I think that there are pictures out there of women who are large and like bulky and women are like, well, what happened to them? Like how did they do that? And I think you could say the same as a lot of men who have had crazy feats in bodybuilding and stuff. I do question the integrity of their practices at some on some level. Um, but the main thing is that those women don't get there by accident. If you are preoccupied at all with getting bulky, that's the first evidence right there that you never will get bulky, because you literally can't get bulky unless you
Mm.
try to do it. First of all, it's not in your favor as a woman. Like I said, it's almost impossible. But you also, like, if you want to, it's kind of like I was explaining it before. If you want to build glutes, you don't build glutes without trying to build glutes, right? Your arms don't get big unless you try to make your arms big. Same thing. So don't worry about it. Weight train the things that you want to weight train. And it's kind of like you are a piece of Play-Doh and you get to choose what you want. And that's the great thing about weight training. Cardio, you get bigger, you get smaller. That's it. And then in the long term, it just kind of messes with you, right? And your metabolism. But weight training is like, oh, I get to pick and choose the things that I want, and things I want to make bigger, things I want to make more shapely. There's so much more variety in what you can accomplish with weight training, which as a woman who maybe wants to redistribute her figure is a lot more effective. Yeah, for that reason too.
I agree. If girls don't want big arms, then let's make sure that we do a little bit of weightlifting with arms, maybe endurance training with
Hmm.
arms, as in like high repetitions.
Right.
But if you want nice legs, then we're gonna do weightlifting. We're gonna get muscle mass on the legs. If vice versa, you don't want a huge butt or nice big legs, then
Right.
we're gonna do workouts to define them but not grow them. And if you want nice toned arms, then we're gonna do workouts just like you said, you get to structure and paint out exactly
Yeah,
what you want
exactly. It's you just pick and choose what
with
you want, and then you have someone help you with the strategy, and then you're good to go. And another observation I think is funny is that is like so many women are afraid of lifting weights, and then so often the first thing they do when they go into the gym to like start lifting weights is they pick up a pair of like 5-10 pound dumbbells, and everyone's doing bicep curls. Like everyone's doing bicep curls because it's the most simple exercise you can possibly do. It is not a compound exercise, which means that you are not going to be exerting as much. You really should be doing those heavy squats, heavy deadlifts. And I just think it's ironic, and it shows like a real lack of education in general, that when women are like, oh, I shouldn't be afraid to lift weights, this is great, you're right, and then they go and they do their arms when really arms is what they don't want to make bigger, and you're not going to make them bigger with 5-10 pounds, but it's still ironic. It's just funny. So anyway, yeah, I just thought that was a funny thing, and I don't mean to make fun, but I just think that educating ourselves on this topic is like a really important thing.
right. So this Jackie, right? She's
Yes, I love Jackie, she's my girl.
she's right here. I feel so powerful when I can increase my weight, and that's
Yes.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming from a woman right there,
Yep.
right? A female,
Yeah.
and her saying that should inspire other ones exactly the same.
And I can tell
Let's
you guys right now,
on,
Jackie is not bulky. She's like the tiniest human ever. So,
right?
yeah, ironically, some of the strongest female powerlifters, competing female powerlifters in the world, some of them are also the smallest. Not all of them.
Mhm.
It depends on, everyone, but it doesn't make you bulky by default. So, don't worry about
Exactly.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but no, definitely, all females should want to strive to be the best you can be.
Yeah.
So, and weightlifting is just like Jackie says here. Makes her feel and powerful, and that's how all women want to feel, and that
Yes, Jackie, we're gonna do that. We're gonna get you those
horseshoe.
triceps.
Everybody wants a horseshoe,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they do.
But awesome. No, definitely. Hey, Megan, thanks for having me here. I
Yeah, it
love
was great.
you. And I really do hope that a lot of females watching this video are really going to incorporate weightlifting and just try it for the next month, next
Yeah,
30 days.
absolutely. Yeah,
And you're
reach out to
definitely,
me about it. I will give you a program and a meal plan and all that good stuff. Do it
yeah,
up, guys. And if you didn't watch the whole thing, go ahead and watch the replay because it was full of a lot of really good stuff. A
a
lot of good
lot of
stuff.
stuff.
Cool.
So
All
it's good.
right.
It's
Well,
good.
have a really great rest of your Sunday. Go ahead and think about those things. So when come tomorrow, Monday morning, right? If you've been doing your treadmill run every morning for a week, change it up this week. Take a leap of faith, change it up, and see how you feel because it will be better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All
Hell
right.
yeah.
Cool. I'll see you guys later and watch the replay.
Later,
See
later.
ya.